Does intermittent fasting actually work? So there's been this recent trend of squeezing all of the food that you're meant to eat in a day within an 8, 4, 2, or even 1 hour window in order to maximize fat loss. And this has taken on names like intermittent fasting and time-restricted feeding. The premise behind why these time-restricted weight loss methods are effective is that when you abstain from consuming foods for an extended period of time, your body burns through all of its existing carbohydrate stores in the form of muscle glycogen, which is effectively the most immediate and easily accessible form of stored energy. Once you've exhausted your glycogen stores, your body has no choice but to pull energy from your existing fat stores in order to keep you alive and fuel your day-to-day activities. On the surface, it makes sense that this diet would be very effective for fat loss, and some die-hard intermittent fasting fans will swear by it and claim that any other diet will be nowhere near as effective. The thing is, if you're going to swear by the pros of any specific diet, you also need to acknowledge the cons that come with it. And believe me, every diet has its own issues. Full disclosure, most oftentimes I'll follow a plant-based diet myself, and it has its own set of disadvantages that I am fully aware of and have accepted. Anyone who claims that any specific diet is the end-all be-all solution to fat loss, the cure for any form of disease, and the holy grail of all existing diets is more often than not either misinformed or trying to sell you something. With all of that being said, intermittent fasting definitely comes with its own set of benefits. The first is that it's extremely flexible and can be combined with basically any other type of diet. Whether you're a vegetarian, pescatarian, or like to eat anything under the sun, intermittent fasting doesn't place any restrictions on what you can or cannot eat. This is often a deal breaker and the main reason why it is that people often don't stick to other types of diets where the type of food that they're allowed to consume is restricted to specific categories of foods. In 9 out of 10 cases, completely eliminating specific types of food from your diet almost always results in backfiring and a massive binge eating streak the moment you allow those prohibited foods back into your diet. The second is that it's extremely convenient and allows you to eat whenever you get the opportunity to, rather than placing an arbitrary meal at the beginning, middle, and end of each day, which can be really inconvenient for people with very hectic schedules. The third is a bit of a pro and a con because it can either help or hurt you depending on how much you actually choose to eat within your window. The reality is that you can only consume so much food within such a short time frame. If you're someone who has a total daily energy expenditure of around 2,000 calories, and you only manage to eat 1,500 calories before your eating window closes, then you're essentially forced into a calorie deficit because you cannot physically stomach more food within such a short period of time. On the other hand, if you're someone like me who could once upon a time devour over 3,000 calories in one sitting, you can actually end up gaining weight when intermittent fasting. Because at the end of the day, weight loss is an energy balance thing first and foremost. Now we can explore a few of the cons that may make it so that fasting is probably not the right approach for you. One of the biggest inconveniences that I found when I was experimenting with fasting was that it really doesn't accommodate people that work out several times a day. There was a time in my life when I would do my resistance training workouts first thing in the morning and then do some cardio at the end of the day, a few hours before bed to accommodate my busy work schedule. If I were to try to squeeze all of the food that I'd eat in a day within a small, say, 8-hour feeding window, I'd only get the opportunity to eat after one of these 2 workouts. And by the time the second one rolls around, I've already been fasting for a few hours. So my glycogen stores are already partially depleted. So I may not perform at my best during that second workout. And on top of that, I wouldn't be able to eat and replenish them before bed, because that would fall outside of my eating window. Let's not forget that I also won't be getting the protein needed to promote muscle repair after my second workout, which is a major key to retaining lean body mass during periods of fasting. This next con is more of a minor inconvenience that eventually disappears, but it can be rough for some people. When you first start fasting, your body is adapting to the whole metabolic switching process from using carbs as fuel to fat. For some people, this process can hit you like a bus and result in some pretty nasty side effects like extreme cravings and dizziness, because your body just isn't used to it. It eventually gets easier the more you do it, but the adaptation period can be a pretty big hurdle to get over for some people. So keep that in mind if you decide to try it out. Now for the question that you're probably asking yourself. Is intermittent fasting actually more effective than traditional calorie restriction for fat loss? In my professional opinion, I wouldn't view it as better by any means, but rather a different means of restricting your calories. On average, people that participate in time-restricted feeding often lose weight. Yes. But that's not because there's something magical about restricting your food to some small, arbitrary window. More often than not, they struggle to eat all of their daily calories during their feeding window, which gives the illusion that it's some magical fat loss method, when in reality it's just a creative form of calorie restriction. Personally, I've gained weight while doing intermittent fasting because I ate everything in sight during my feeding window. So if you're someone who fills up quickly, it just might be right for you.